So now we'll dive deeper into where the magic happens with Fidelity Total Farm. So like I said in the last video, you have the complete farm here at the top, which is giving you the 850 homeowners that live in this Point Fermin area that you've created, and which is great information to have, right? I know the owners' names, where they live, what they purchased the property for, when they purchased it, how long they've lived there. So all great information, but at the same time, that's a little bit tricky of a number to actually market to effectively 850 homeowners. So that's where farm filters within Total Farm really come in handy. So if you navigate to the top tab here, you actually see some pre-created farm filters. And so all you have to do is select that. So I can click recent buyers. And now it'll segment this farm down to the 8 people that recently purchased and moved into the Point Fermin area. So if I want to consistently farm to that Point Fermin area, I can introduce myself to these homeowners and give them a welcome to the neighborhood newsletter or door knock, or give them a call, whatever it may be. If I click out of state, now it's going to give me the 16 homeowners that own a property within that Point Fermin area, but they themselves don't live there. So if I look at the site address, so the actual property within Point Fermin, I'll see the address. And if I scroll to the right within the farm data, I actually see that this property owner lives in Oregon. This one lives in Florida, New Jersey, Arizona, Illinois, Minnesota, etc. So this actually helps create some maybe different ways of marketing to these property owners. So now I could give them information about rent law changes or different updates within the general Point Fermin area as well, and try to become their local realtor if they live out of state. Absentee is somewhat similar. So the property obviously resides in Point Fermin, but the property owner themselves does not. So if you scroll to the right, you see obviously the Point Fermin addresses. And then if you go to the mailing address, some of them live in LA, some live in Oregon. So it's a little bit of a broader stroke in terms of just looking at property owners that don't live there. But overall, you can use both of these, out of state and absentee, as a way, like I said, to try to find some property owners that might want to sell their rental property because of appreciation. But also, you probably have an indication that a lot of these, like I said, are rentals. So you might have renters living there that might become buyers. So now you have an ability to maybe get in contact with the people that actually live in the properties themselves. Moving forward, you have occupied. So this will focus on the property owners that actually live in the Point Fermin area in the properties. And then you have stay years. So this is a really effective filter as well. So if I select stay years, this connects back to the previous video where I showed you the farm stats that showed that on average, homeowners live in the Point Fermin area for 11.51 years before they decide to sell. So now these 55 records, if I scroll to the right, are all homeowners that live currently in the Point Fermin area, but have lived there for on average around that 11.51 year mark. So this one, for example, is around 13 years, 11 years, 12 years, down to 10 years. So it's about plus or minus 2 years of that 11.51 year mark. So it's giving you somewhat of an indication of who is statistically more likely to sell. Who should you focus your time on if you're really trying to be effective with your marketing? And then moving on with other filters that are worth exploring. So if you select farm filters here, and then filters, this tab once again, and this drop down will give you even more filters to work with. So it'll give you length of time ownership from new to 2 years, all the way to empty nester. Empty nester likely indicating that they're senior citizens if you create an assumption that most homeowners purchase their first home around the year 30 years old. So now you have an indication of different demographic groups within this farm, right? So with empty nester, you have an ability to maybe reach out to them about Proposition 19 or legislation that particularly affects senior citizen homeowners or people that have owned their home for a very long time. And then finishing up with Focus Farm, ready to sell. So Focus Farm will look at all the recent sales within that farm area, and it'll look at the house characteristics themselves. So the bed, bath, square footage, whether it has a pool or not, and it'll see which types of home are selling the most frequently. And then it'll match that characteristic with all of the other homes in that Point Fermin area. So it'll essentially say these are the most in-demand houses and which houses currently exist that match that criteria. Ready to sell is a great filter as well. So if you really want to hyper focus on a few homeowners this month to door knock and really reach out to, this is a good one for that. So it will combine that focus farm that I just talked about, so the house type that is really in high demand, and stay years. So basically saying that these homeowners have a house that's in high demand, and also on average, they're pretty primed and ready to sell based on historic sales data. Also finishing up, I think a good one is anniversary. So this is a nice thing if, like I said, you want to consistently farm to that point from an area over a long span of time, and you can always have an awareness of who's coming up on a home anniversary. Reach out to them and say, hey, it's been a year or 5 years or 10 years since you purchased this home in Point Fermin. How are you liking things? Have you thought about selling your house in the near future? Because as you know, most realtors do have a tough time with keeping in touch with their past clients, and could be a way to earn some new business. So farm filters are a great way to really come up with creative marketing ideas and find who you should really invest your time into within this farm area.